Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Big in Pomerania. I think this is the fourth episode that I've had here, and this field here, if you followed this little terrible series, we recently finished harvesting. It was full of canola, and after an inordinate amount of time, we managed to finish harvest. Oh shoot, there. Well, looks like I'm going to run out here anyhow, close to where I need to refill anyhow. Alrighty. Actually, I need to hop into this tractor and open up shop. Get both of them out. I do have a tractor planting. Oh, and it appears I'm going to need to move this out of the road. Let me just take it off the field. And I'm going to need to move my sprayer as well as normal. Haven't even set up properly for the episode. Let me just fold this up here real quick and refill with chemical. Anyways, I was saying we recently finished harvesting canola. And as you can see, I have a whole bunch of cash in the bank, $368,000. Basically, I sold everything straight out of the field. And you know, I'm not 100% sure that the map author fertilized every field that he had in here, but every single one of them is pretty well ready for harvest. So I've just been, you could come in here in theory, and before you harvest, you could wet the ground, kind of like we're doing here with fertilizer. But I've chosen basically to not do that because it's something you would never do in real life. I wonder if I will be able to get around the whole edge kind of like this. Anyways, you can see we harvested it, and pretty much off camera I cultivated the entire field, and I got something to talk about on that one a little bit later. Probably something that many people watching this would know already. But I find I'm still learning, modding, studying the Lua code, figuring a few things out here and there. So anyway, more on that to come later. And actually, it isn't just about cultivating. It also has to do with plowing, planting, and maybe even the speed with which I'm traveling. And speed is exactly, what I was kind of studying. Looks like I'm not totally getting the chemical all the way over to the edge. Anyway, this this is just classic. Anybody that has played Farming Sim has probably seen this umpteen times. As I travel around the edge of the field, for some reason, I planted these at the same time. It wasn't like I did the outer round and then, fast forwarded time 2 days so that it could grow, and then came back and did the second round. No, none of that. But for whatever reason, I think I must have got caught between a growth cycle or whatever and the outer or part of the way around. I have no idea how this part of the giant stuff works. I'm wondering if it's a particular time. I do know there's these files in the save game that kind of keep, I think it's a timer of sorts, for each crop. If you look in there, there's an XML. It's a short file. It has something in there that I believe is a counter probably to the next growth cycle, if you will. So if you happen to start planting and right on the edge of the growth cycle, well, then you end up with something like this. And it was just my good fortune to get everything cultivated and then start planting, and lo and behold, I have this and growing on the outside of the field, even though there was only minutes really that separated the first versus the second lap. And I gotta say, when I did the other field, if you take a look just to the left, the one kind of surrounding the main farm, I did that whole thing, and there wasn't a single bit of growth that whole time. I sprayed it, I did everything, and before a single blade of crop showed. And by the way, that particular field now, which I planted to barley, is fully grown, ready to harvest. I instead chose to kind of come over to the eastern side of the map, kind of on the other side of the river. It's a little more painful to get to over here, but I harvested the whole field, which was canola, and cultivated it, and now I'm in the process of planting it. And I guess the reason I dug the sprayer out is it is a pain. Right now it's easy to spray, where you can see where you're going. And you can, to a limited extent, if you look at the outer edge here, you can kind of see the crop is really short, but when it grows tall, it is much harder to see where you're going. And in later versions of the game, there'd be GPS mod and things like that would help you see kind of where you're going, but we didn't have anything like that back in Farm Sim 11. I had attempted to bring the mod back to Farm Sim 11. I think it first appeared in Farm Sim 13, but I ran into some snags in a hurry, and when it's hard, sometimes there just aren't enough hours in the day, so I kind of bagged it. But it sure would be cool if we had a GPS mod even back in these earlier versions. And it's possible because, the hired help knows how to steer. So it's just a matter of learning how to tickle the Lua code, I'm convinced, to figure something like that out. But anyway, by hook or by crook, we are planting this over here. I decided to come in and hit it with chemical because I don't want a growing crop, and and having to do it when it's taller, not be able to see where I'm going. So I'm kind of coming in here, and I'm hoping, I'm going over the top of the cultivated ground. I'm hoping it will remain fertilized by the time it gets planted. And I guess we will see. I think in this version here, what removed the layer of fertilization was actually the cultivation process. In later versions of the game, it was the harvest process that would end up removing the fertilization layer. Now, as I come further over here, maybe I'll just pause a moment because I want to look out at the water and share something that I did. So let me just get kind of around the bend here. I'm going to pause right here. Let's turn it off. And I'm going to look out here to, I guess this would be to the east. So first off, there's an annoying line that shows over here. I haven't been able to fix that, but basically, the main water table ends over here. And what I wanted to do, I don't know if anybody remembers from a previous episode, we are inside, of course, our own little world. You look up and around, we have what's called a sky box that forms the sky. And the original skybox is big enough to handle the standard size map, but when you get to a 4X map, it is just barely big enough to cover the map. And the problem, you can kind of see the corner right in the center of the screen, just above the tree up there, if you will. If you know where you're looking, you can kind of see the corner. And the problem was this corner was really, really close to the edge over here, you'd come over to the water's edge, not that we spend an appreciable amount of time over here, but you get over here, and even in front of the line that you kind of see out there, that's kind of where the skybox would end. And what I wanted was to push the horizon out further so that it didn't appear like you were sitting in some kind of box. So there's any number of ways to do that, and maybe let me just get back on the field here. We still got a guy. Actually, let me make sure he's I can't really tell. Hopefully he's down there working away. Let's just pop out a game here real quick. I want to show you something what I did. There would be multiple ways of trying to do this, where you could use the editor and pull open the sky. And the sky here that is being used by the map, there's many maps that will have their own sky textures that they use, their own skybox. Here the app author chose to keep it simple, and they're using the in-game or the Giant's own skybox, just the default textures here. This is in the sample mod map Lua file in the load section. It's creating the new environment, if you will, and part of the ad is loading up the sky. And this is an i3D file. It's no different than the map. Well, I mean, different from the map, of course. But you can open it with the editor, and it's an inverted box. It's what you would see that holds the sky. So when you go underneath the box and you look up, you see all the textures of the sky. It has several pieces in it, so it's going to show the daytime sky, the nighttime sky. It's going to show what happens when it rains. When it's in the morning or evening, it's going to have, the morning and evening textures, if you will, sunrise, sunset. And those are all embedded into here, and the game, for many versions, controlled which texture appeared at which time using a shader. So that's all in the guts of the game, probably in this Lua code here, environment.lua, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, this isn't about that. This is loading an i3D file, and it's loading it into the environment. It's pulling it off your hard drive, from the FarmSim11 directory in this location. Data sky, day, night, i3D. Okay, well, once it's loaded, what I said is, let's make that sucker bigger. Like so many objects that are in the map, you have the option to scale them on the X, Y, or Z scale. So I said, there's a command, a Lua command. Unfortunately, it was available here in FarmSim11. Set scale. Real simple. So set scale of what? Well, this particular i3D file is loaded into the environment, and it's in Sky ID. So take what is sitting here at this location, and then you have X, Y, and Z. And the Y axis, of course, is up and down. X and Z, represent north, south, and east, west. I can never remember which is which, as to X and Z. But it was tall enough, so I said Y scale is okay, don't have to make it any taller. But I wanted to make it broader. I wanted to send it further north and south and further east and west. So I made it half again as large as the original. And I like doing it this way because it only scales it, when the game is loaded, or when this particular save is loaded. So when this app loads up, it first loads the sky, and immediately it scales it so that in game it has the appearance of being larger than it actually is. Now, another way you could do it would be to literally load up the i3D file itself, and you could adjust the scale for the X, Y, and Z in the i3D file itself. I didn't want to do that because, again, this one here is from the main game files itself, and it's on the hard drive. The moment you touch one of those files, you potentially ruin the ability to do multiplayer and some of those other things. So I'd like to leave it alone if you can. So here's kind of a little compromise that's really easy. If you want to make your sky bigger, you can do it this way here. So I chose to just do it in the sample bottom app file, and upon load, it broadens our horizons, if you will. And going back in here, you can tell it kind of pushes it out. Of course, as we get back over here into our sprayer, there are other problems caused, and I worked on this silly water plane. Someone else in here may know. I tried to make it bigger. I deleted it. I imported it. I exported it. I did everything I could think of under the sun. I even cranked up good old Blender and took the water plane into Blender, tried to make it larger there, tried to rescale it so it would work, but still I have this line in here. I'm sure the answer to fixing it is probably really simple. I don't know how. So it's something I'm just going to have to put up with. If you look way off here, you can see the true horizon. Maybe there's a continental shelf, so it's shallower up here and deeper over there. The reality is the border of the map. Let's see, the border of the map, I can't remember if it goes all the way over here to this line. It might, but I kind of think the actual border is, a little closer to shore. This map is large. It takes up, all the space that it was allotted, and so there isn't much extra room on the border. And I kind of think it starts doing some weird things maybe the closer you get to the border. So, let me get rid of course play. So that was one of the things I was working on, and so I got part of what I wanted, which was, expanded skies. Okay, good. I see that other guy. Sorry, I keep checking down there. I see that yellow thing, which tells me the planter guy sewing machine is still moving. Oops. So I got part of what I was after, but not all. So I may keep working on it. If someone has an idea of how to fix that line, by all means, please chime in the comments. And it's interesting here too, that again, I have no idea how this works, but here, for whatever reason, the outer round isn't showing, it isn't growing, so that change in growth cycle must have happened at some point, when I was doing the opening round. Go figure. So there would be mods later. I know I have it for Farm Sim 15. I don't know if it was there for Farm Sim 13. I think it is, what's it called? Oh, the name isn't important. What it would do is to prevent the ad from happening, because it's weird. A farmer, when they're out planting their field or whatever, you don't see part of it suddenly start growing and sprout up in the middle of the planting process. You don't see that. But in game, we're kind of forced to have these certain cycles, whether we like it or not. It's probably very rigid in terms of when it gets triggered. So that's kind of why we have the ad in game. But what this mod would do is it would force the growth cycle triggering to wait until midnight, I believe. And so it would wait whatever the state was that it was supposed to be in the morning or whatever, or at midnight. It would keep that state the entire day, and it would only change it at midnight. Now, you could do all sorts of things to it. You could harvest it if it was harvestable, you could cultivate it, plow it, whatever. Those it didn't touch. It was only the growth cycles, and so crop growth would not happen until midnight. So it's kind of nice. That way you never ran into kind of the funny looking appearance, kind of like we had in here. What it would do is it would keep the appearance like we have right now, where you can tell we've been planting, and of course we're coming in and fertilizing here. So that would be another mod that might be fun to bring back to Farm Sim 11. To my knowledge, I don't think it existed here. Kind of wondering here, this field is so large that I was noticing when I ran the sewing machine around it, it was just enough to make a single round before the sewing machine was emptied. So I'm kind of curious to see if the sprayer makes it, and I have a feeling we're not quite gonna make it. I started and I already had some in the tank, and I had to refill. So yeah, I kind of think I'm not gonna make it. I'm also looking at the handiwork here. Of course, after harvest, I cultivated the entire field, and I'm looking again. I know I commented on this in a previous video. I tried to clean the edges up with the cultivator, not making them smoother or anything. I mean, goodness, you could see all the bumps in here and there, but it was another thing that kind of looked strange, where you would see the yellow underlying background for the field and grass. If it was growing over the top of the yellow part, it just kind of looked a little funny, if you will. So I tried to at least cultivate over the top of wherever the yellow part was, so it got rid of the grass. And now it looks normal, at least in terms of distance textures. As you look out kind of in the distance, you could follow the field edge. It doesn't have a bunch of green in the foreground and then show yellow kind of in the background. And maybe I can start talking about the next thing. I was kind of paranoid. I got this sprayer down here because, oh my goodness, I don't want it to, I'm already to run out anyhow. I don't want it to, better get out of the guy's way. I don't want it to, well, here, we park this right here. Yeah. All right, let me go get my sauce. And I just forgot about what I was going to say. I don't want it to. Maybe I didn't want him to run into my sprayer here. There's a lot of touch-up I'm going to have to do. But I learned something about the speed at which you can do certain tasks. Oh, now I remember what I didn't want it to do. Alright, let me get this going. And that bugs me, by the way. I am refilling with fertilizer and it isn't charging me a dime. Silly thing. Alright, let me get in my tractor here. This is a case in point. Alright, I turn on my sewing machine, and everybody knows, right now, I am traveling in the speed of 2. Back here in Farm Sim 11, you had, you had a variable speed option if you just did it manually, but there were 3 cruise controls, speed 1, 2, and 3. 1 was kind of the normal field speed, if you will. 2 was also a field speed, and I think in most instances, when it comes to planting, when it comes to cultivating, when it comes to harvesting, and I believe also when it comes to the other things that we were doing there, running the sprayer, you could do it at the speed of 2. And now let me pay attention here as I get back to Maybe what I should do is just finish this out. Back and forth, this is going to take forever. I don't know if anybody noticed, but going on its own in higher mode, it would only run 8 miles an hour. And as everybody can see, as I do this now, it's letting me go 24, 25-ish. Now, all of this is dictated by the vehicle XML. In terms of how fast it's going to let me go at these various speeds. It is based on how you set up your motor, and I don't know the full calculation yet as to how it translates into speed. I just know that it has to do with the values, that are put into the vehicle's XML file. So if you have a tractor that has 1,000 RPMs as its speed 1 or cruise control 1 setting, then it's going to go way faster in speed 1 than what this particular tractor would. With this particular tractor here, when you are cultivating or running this sowing machine, it tops you out at 8 miles an hour, which actually is probably a very realistic speed. I know it'll depend on conditions and everything. Ditto with, I just don't know. I think it's pretty realistic from what I've seen. Although sometimes I think, depending on the type of seeder that you have, sowing machine, you can actually go pretty quick. Cultivation, 8 miles an hour. That's pretty quick. Of course, most everything in the farming sim world for giants is going to be a little quicker than normal. But 8 miles an hour is going to be way closer to realistic than the speed we're going now. So anyway, I mention all that because I've always kind of wondered, just how the speeds of the game get dictated. Why it allows me to clip along here, not only at 25, let me speed up. Okay, it stops you at 30. It'll let you, I don't know if you noticed, once it hits 30, it gives you the warning. And it's the same, over with the cultivator. And so I've always kind of wondered, well, why is that? If it lets me go and do my field work in, the cruise control setting too, why is it that, when I hire it, it slows you down? And for all I know, it's a penalty, in the minds of the giants. Hey, if you're going to hire, you're being lazy, so we're going to just slow the process down and make it take longer. Whereas if you do it yourself, put in the hard work yourself, we'll let you speed it up and do it quicker. I have no idea if that was their intent or not. But it was something that I kind of wondered about. So I studied the Lua code, and I think I found a couple things in there that dictate how and why it goes the speed that it does, particularly when it's hired. And it has to do with the settings that are hard keyed into the game. Here, let me turn that off. I'm going to need a refill here pretty soon. We got this whole end already seeded. Actually, I almost probably should take another loop around the field and give it 3 so that it has plenty of space to turn around. So let me get this puppy going again. Alright, it has the same angle and everything. I'm going to hop out of game again just to show you something. Alright, so this here I have open in a different text editor, AI Tractor. And I have hidden a number of areas in here, but in updating the AI movement, whenever it's called, it's got a DT, so I imagine it's an update or update tick. So when it's in hired mode, you'll notice this one little thing. This is tractor, and it is called speed level. I think AI Combine probably has something similar in it. I didn't look at it, but it is hard coded. There is nothing where you can change unless you write a Lua script or something to change it. it is always going to choose speed level that is cruise control level 1. So the slowest speed is going to be the field speed. Well, what we were just doing was going in speed level 2. There's the bell, but you're forced to have speed level 1 in here. And there's a routine down here, a util, AI vehicle util. If it's time to update the wheels, meaning make them turn and move the vehicle forward, it gets a direction. It says drive in direction. So this is telling the tractor what to do when it's hired, in what direction to go. And of course, one of the inputs is good old speed level, which is forced to be level 1. Now over here, AI vehicle util, that has its own separate file. So this has all the inputs. The speed level is one of them. So it's going to tell it what to do in here. The main point is when it's hired, it forces you to the slowest speed level. Versus, if you take sewing machine here, the Lua file for that, if you look in here an update tick, and again, I've hidden a number of things in here just so we can kind of see it. In the middle here, it's asking, if the max speed level is 2, and I think for most seeders and cultivators, the max speed level is going to be 2, meaning you can do the cultivation or planting when you're using the speed of 2. Then the speed limit is 30. So remember how it would start squawking, when we exceeded 30 miles an hour. And actually, I think for the game, this is intended to be 30 kilometers per hour, which is way slower than 30 miles per hour. 30 miles per hour. I mean, there was some issues, I think, with units, in these earlier versions of the game. So, and if it's 3, it puts it up at 100. I think basically to get the limit big enough that you can do whatever you want. Well, I don't know if there's a planter or sewing machine out there that allows you to run it at level 3, meaning you could go in road gear and fly around the field. But it will let you go to 30. And why does this matter? Well, down here it's going to check your speed limit, and if you're going over the limit, then there's some hidden code here. It's going to pop the message on the screen that says, hey, slow down, buddy. Because if you don't, it does add an annoying thing, and it disconnects the tractor from the implement, which I know we've all remembered maybe from the earlier games. Now, later games, what it would do is it would force you, or it would limit your speed. When there's a speed limit, you couldn't go above the speed when you were pulling it, so it no longer did the annoying thing of disconnecting your tractor. But anyway, I at least wanted to show this. This is why we are allowed to do it faster when we are manually pulling the sewing machine versus when we have a tractor and we're hiring something. It always picks speed level 1. So it's picking the slowest possible one. So we can do it in 2 when we do it manually, and when it's hired, it picks 1. I don't know if anybody cares about those kinds of things. The reason I share it is just in case somebody ever wants to know, because I know full well how long it takes me to read the code and find this stuff. If it helps someone, just a little bit, find it quicker, then it was worthwhile to share it. Anyway, it is 8 in the morning. We are awaiting some rain showers coming, and we are in the middle of planting the field. This time we're dropping wheat in there, and folks, we got a long ways to go. We've only planted a little bit kind of down here in the corner, so it's gonna be going back and forth for a long time yet. So I think I'll keep going, and I won't force anybody to continue watching this go at 8 miles an hour while hired. So thank you so much for watching this for a little bit. Hope you all are having a wonderful day. I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.